Okay, tell me if you can relate. You're the person everyone describes as strong, responsible, independent, driven, like capable and kind. You're the one person that people trust to figure things out, keep everything moving, and showing up when it matters. And before we go any further, I want you to actually give yourself credit for that. Like, these qualities didn't come from nowhere, and you have probably worked incredibly hard to become the person that you are. And those strengths may have helped you create opportunities, support, and like in order to support the people that you love, and also get through situations that once felt impossible. But I don't think enough people realize that one of your greatest strengths can also quietly become the thing creating the most pressure in your life. And it's not because the strength itself is bad, but because you may no longer feel like you have a choice. So, for example, you're not just responsible, you feel like everything will fall apart if you stop managing it. You're not just independent, you feel uncomfortable letting anyone help you. You're kind, but you feel guilty when someone is disappointed in you. Another example is like you're ambitious, but you feel like you always have to prove that you're doing enough. So the good news is that you don't have to become less strong, like less generous, less like any of these good traits in order to feel like more peaceful. You may simply need to recognize that sometimes a natural gift or conditioning from society has become a mask you wear to protect yourself. And once you understand that mask is protecting, you can keep everything like beautiful about these qualities without carrying all the fear, like exhaustion, pressure attached to this. So this realization changed the way I started looking at myself, because for a long time, I thought the answer was to become even better at the qualities people already like praised me for. But if I felt overwhelmed, I thought I needed to become more organized. Or if I was scared, I thought I needed to prepare more. Like if I felt like behind, I thought I needed to work harder. If I didn't know what to do next, I assumed I needed more information. And listen, I am very good at finding information. I can research, study, create a plan, make lists and systems. And sometimes it's exhausting, man. And come up with like 15 ways to approach one goal. But I had to become honest about the moments when learning was helping me and the moments when learning had quietly become a hiding place. So, for example, let's say you have a project that you really care about. You've done the research, you have 20 pages of notes, you've watched videos, you've saved ideas, you created a detailed plan. And on paper, you look extremely prepared. But when it's time to press record or post the video or like launch the offer or tell people this is what I do, like suddenly you want more information. And maybe the mask you're wearing is like an endlessly prepared person. The person who always needs one more plan, like another course, more opinion before beginning. That mask may be built around a beautiful gift, like your intelligence, but it may also be protecting you from being seen or rejected or judged or disappointed. And that was something I had to recognize in myself. Organizing information felt so safe, but being seen using that information felt vulnerable. So maybe you're the person everyone comes to for advice. Like you can see the situation clearly, you can connect the dots quickly and remind them of strength they've forgotten. But when it's your own life, suddenly the answer feels much harder to trust. Like you can tell your friend you don't have to explain yourself that much. while you're rewriting your own message like 5 times so nobody misunderstands you. Or you can remind someone like one bad day doesn't erase all your progress, while also criticizing yourself for missing one workout or a deadline or a thing on your list. Or you can tell someone like, you're allowed to change your mind while staying in a situation that no longer feels right because you're afraid changing direction will make you look inconsistent. Or you can encourage someone else to ask for help while like carrying everything alone because being the capable one has become part of your identity. So that doesn't make you fake or a hypocrite. It is much easier to see a pattern clearly when your own emotions are not sitting inside of you. I also realized that I could be extremely compassionate towards everyone else's patterns, but when it came to my own, I became impatient. I would think like, Nalani, you already know this. Why are you still doing this? You've done the work, you've done the inner work, you've done the healing. Like you literally help other people with this. And that voice sounded like accountability, but sometimes it was a shame wearing a productive outfit. And I believe that once I understood a pattern, I should never fall into it again. But that isn't how growth works. So, like, let's say you still overthought the conversation, but you didn't send the like impulsive message. Or you still felt guilty about setting a boundary, but you didn't take the boundary back. Or you were afraid before posting the video, but you posted it anyway. That is growth. Growth is not always, I never feel this anymore. Sometimes growth is, I feel it, but it didn't make the decision for me. So there was also a time in my life when being capable was a huge part of how I understood myself. I had a very like academic path, and I was in an environment where working hard, knowing all the answers, pushing through discomfort, and proving yourself were celebrated. And there is something really beautiful about discipline and something amazing about like having a strong mind and committing yourself to a difficult goal. But my body was struggling. I was exhausted, like I was in pain. And for a long time, I kept translating those signals into try harder, like you can figure it out, become stronger. But I didn't understand is that sometimes strength isn't pushing through. Sometimes strength is being honest enough to say like, hey, this is hurting me and this isn't working anymore and something needs to change. So for example, let's say you have stayed in a job or a friendship or a relationship or a situation long enough after you knew it wasn't right because you were proud of being resilient. And you kept telling yourself, like, I can handle this, and maybe you can handle it. But handling sometimes and thriving inside of it are not the same thing. And sometimes like resilience becomes a mask. And the mask says, I am the strong one. I don't quit. I don't need help. I can tolerate this. But underneath that mask, maybe a younger part of you who learned that it wasn't safe to fall apart or ask for help or admit that something hurts. And that's why I started asking myself, what hurt me? And what did I become to protect myself from like feeling that again? And maybe you became the strong one, like the responsible one, the nice one. Like these are all masks, like the perfectionist, like the high achiever, the person who never needs anything. And these masks aren't completely fake. Like how I was saying, like they're often built around real guilt, like gifts. But the people pleaser might genuinely be compassionate, and the high achiever may genuinely be ambitious. But the problem begins when the mask becomes the only version that you feel it's the only version of you that feels safe. So like here, okay, let's say you are known as the nice one and you care about people and you like try to understand them and you don't want to create unnecessary conflict. And that is an amazing trait. But maybe maintaining that mask required you to reject your anger, your own preferences, or your ability to say that did not feel good to me. And for me personally, like I love finding meaning in things. Like I love asking, what is this teaching me? How is this redirecting me? And that optimism has carried me like through very difficult moments. But I also had to realize that sometimes I move to the lesson too quickly. And sometimes I wanted to understand another person before acknowledging that like I was angry, and I wanted to make like an experience spiritual before admitting that it actually hurt. And sometimes I wanted to see everyone else's perspective before like listening to my own. So maybe you do this too. Someone treats you in a way that doesn't feel good, and you immediately start explaining themselves to like yourself so you don't feel hurt. And you think about their childhood, their stress, like their attachment style, and everything they may be going through. And maybe all of that is true, but another truth may simply be that didn't feel good for me. And that realization can be enough. I realized I had become so good at understanding people that sometimes I used understanding to leave myself behind. And I could create like this entire like psychological document in my head about why someone was pulling away or acting inconsistently. But I wasn't asking what is happening with me. So let's say you're, for example, like constantly analyzing a connection and you're looking at their wording and their response time and their tone, every small change in their behavior. And maybe like this sensitivity is helping you notice real information, and that is a gift. But maybe the mask is trying to protect you from rejection by predicting it before like it even happens. So the question then becomes, what part of myself am I rejecting to maintain this mask? And maybe you reject your anger because you want to remain like understanding. And you reject your needs because you want to appear easygoing. Maybe you reject like your vulnerability because you want to remain the strong one. Like maybe you put aside your preferences because you are afraid honesty could create conflict. And I'm not saying you need to like lose your compassion. You just need to include yourself in this situation as well. So here's another example. Like, let's say a coworker asks if you can take on another project, or a friend asks if you can help them move this weekend, or a family member asks you to do something that like you honestly just don't have the capacity for. On the surface, you might think, I just need to get better at setting boundaries. So you watch videos about boundaries, you rehearse what you're going to say, and promise yourself, next time I'm definitely going to say no. But at some point, I had to ask myself, what am I actually protecting myself from? Because the behavior wasn't really the problem. The behavior was saying yes. The mask I was wearing was, I'm the nice one, I'm the dependable one. But underneath the mask, I realized I was trying to protect myself from rejection or from conflict or from someone being disappointed in me. And then I noticed the thought that kept the whole pattern alive is, if I disappoint people, they'll like me less. If I say no, they'll think I'm selfish. And keeping everyone happy is how I like keep the relationship. And once I saw that, the solution wasn't just set better boundaries, the practice became much smaller. Like maybe instead of automatically saying yes, you simply say, let me think about it. And that tiny shift completely changes the pattern, because now I'm not just changing my behavior, I'm understanding the mask and the fear behind, like underneath it, and the thoughts that are like keeping it alive, and then choosing a new response. That's how we stop repeating the same patterns. That's how we follow through differently. So here's one that I see all the time in my clients, and honestly, in myself too. Like one of the biggest masks I had to recognize was perfectionism. I've had days where I accomplished so much and my brain still wanted to stare at the one like missing check mark on my to-do list. And honestly though, your ability to see what could be better is probably part of why you're so talented, and you and people who have this kind of shadow mask probably have like a lot of vision and notice details, and you probably care about quality, and again, that's a gift. But your eye for what could improve also needs an eye for what is already working. Otherwise, every accomplishment becomes evidence of what you still haven't done. So what I've become more conscious of is practicing allowing success to land. Because setting the next goal, acknowledging the person who reached this, and before correcting what is missing, like name what you created. So before like criticizing your pace, remember what you've already been carrying. And you're probably doing better than the voice in your head always already notices. So, okay. So, for example, I had a powerful moment when I actually changed my phone background to a picture of myself as a little girl. And I started looking at that child and thinking, like, I will not abandon her. And how would I speak to her the way I'm speaking to myself? Like, would I force her to keep performing when she was exhausted? Would I tell her everyone else's comfort mattered more than her truth? Or would I tell her she was only worth when she was productive? Like, of course not. I would remind her that she is bright and creative and loving and resilient and full of possibility. And I would help her take the next step without making her ashamed for being afraid. And then I realized that this child is still me. So maybe there is a younger version of you who learned to become useful, impressive, funny, like easygoing or strong. And that child was intelligent. They looked at their environment and figured out like how to belong, but you are allowed to update that strategy now. So maybe you are the responsible one and you can let somebody else handle one thing. But maybe you are the nice one and you can say what you actually prefer, or your mask is the strong one and you can tell someone that you're actually having a difficult day, or you're a perfectionist and you can complete like something at 80% instead of 100%. And when you shift, notice what comes up. Like, what hurt taught you that this mask was necessary? Like, what part of yourself did you reject to maintain it? Like, what thoughts keeps telling you the mask is still your safest option? And what is one small thing you can practice instead? Like, you don't need to answer perfectly. Just notice, then ask yourself, what would it look like to honor my gift without abandoning myself? Could you remain loving while having a boundary? You can remain like driven while moving at a sustainable pace. And you can remain thoughtful without like analyzing every single possibility. You can remain strong without allowing yourself to receive support. You have already proven that you can survive. And so maybe this next chapter is about letting your strengths becoming like choices instead of requirements. And if you recognize yourself in this video, if there's a goal, relationship, decision, or next chapter you care about, but you keep getting pulled into the same pattern, I want you to know that this can change. You already have so much of what you need. Like, you have awareness, you have resilience, gifts, and the ability to learn. Now it may be about recognizing the mask, understanding what it has been protecting, and practicing a new response with support. So click on my YouTube homepage to see the different ways you can work with me. I help high achievers understand the patterns underneath what is keeping them stuck and create practical changes towards the life that they genuinely want. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.